So AOC sent out a tweet talking about the COVID relief and what's going on with the Senate. Now, this is actually really important for her to do this kind of information, and I hope that she does this more often because it's good in terms of messaging, and more importantly, a lot of the rationale for why Democrats are not supporting some of these, COVID relief bills passed by Republicans. They sometimes, like Nancy Pelosi, she just won't explain anything at all. She won't give any information. So everyone's like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about? Nobody knows because you're leaving it as a mystery. But, so what she says is, she says this: if you want to know why COVID relief is tied up in Congress, one key reason is that Republicans are demanding legal immunity for corporations so they can expose their workers to COVID without repercussions. Dems don't want you to die for a check. That's what we're fighting over. And then she attaches a article from rollcall.com, which is blanket COVID-19 liability shield will cost taxpayers. And so pretty much what it says is this: it says eliminating liability takes away a critical tool for holding corporations accountable to the individuals putting themselves at risk to keep the economy moving. In the context of the spreading pandemic, establishing a causal relationship will be difficult. People could have contracted the virus almost anywhere from anyone they encountered. Claims that COVID-19 will lead to unprecedented litigation are simply not supported by the facts. Of more than 4,100 COVID-19 related lawsuits filed, only 75 are for wrongful death or injury as a result of getting sick at work. 2/3 fall into three categories: insurance disputes, prison cases, and civil rights cases, including challenging shelter-in-place orders. Even more absurd than the general coronavirus-related liability shield is the talk of adding other unrelated immunity clauses to the relief bills. The oil and gas industry, for example, has been looking to avoid liability for the monumental climate harms and public costs their products have caused, even after they understood how harmful their product was to human health and climate. One thing I've learned over 20 years as a budget watchdog is that once large legislation gets moving, all sorts of extraneous pieces try to catch a ride. And it also explains how this will be a potential burden on taxpayers because it'll turn into unemployment. It'll turn into, taxpayers footing for the medical bills and unemployment and all that kind of stuff. And even the litigation, if, taxpayers are probably going to be the ones giving the settlements, So instead of the businesses being liable and the businesses having to pay up, these people go to court. And then when it comes to the liability, the people who foot the liability is a taxpayer. Kind of like, when the police brutality cases happen and then the police get sued and they lose like $10 million is like the amount of money that has to be paid out. You know who pays that? It's literally you. You're paying that. Taxpayers are paying that money. So what they're trying to do is, and this is called the poison pill. Republicans do this shit all the time, especially because it's a really good trap. You put in these little poison pills of like, oh yeah, we're going to give COVID-related legal immunity to corporations, or as they say here, the oil and gas industry is going to get like random liabilities for random stuff. You just kind of toss it into these big bills about something totally different. And then when, Republicans insist and Democrats like, no, we're not going to vote for this, then people get pissed off at the Democrat, and then Republicans turn Democrats and say, oh, look, they're refusing to do this, even though they're putting in these poison pills into this bill. So AOC is essentially explaining that, this is one of the reasons why it's being held up. And it's really important to explain this to people because, a lot of being in government is being able to message, right? Being able to have good messaging to people, right? So that's what you need to be able to do. And this is good messaging. It's very clear in explaining that, one of the poison pills they're trying to do is give liability to corporations. And so basically companies, they're off the hook for, I guess there was a report of some company like not going to the floor and letting their workers work and then having betting pools on how many people would get infected. Just people being careless, companies being careless about their employees. And then the employees can't sue, or if they can sue with this liability, the legal exemption, the taxpayers end up footing the bill. It's a really big mistake. It's a really big fail. Very bad move. So really glad AOC is exposing Republicans here because what Nancy Pelosi did with Wolf Blitzer was a complete failure because she didn't actually say anything, right? And so it made her look really, really stupid and really elitist. But when you explain to people what exactly is the issue very clearly and concisely this way, it's very helpful and it really helps your messaging and really shows what you are fighting for exactly and why you aren't voting on a bill. It's really important, man. Really, really, really important.